Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Safonza Robertson, and I am a Senior Advisor with the Operational Performance Management team. And today I'll be walking us through Southern California Edison's 2020 Annual Electric Reliability Performance. We're going to move into the slides now. Next slide, please. Today's agenda includes an overview of Southern California Edison. We'll also be discussing what reliability means and how we measure reliability. Then we'll transition into SCE's 2020 reliability performance, along with how you can access your local reliability reports. And finally, we'll talk about what Southern California Edison has done to improve reliability in 2020. And at the end of the meeting, we'll have time for Q&A. Next slide, please. Who we are. Southern California Edison is one of the nation's largest electric utilities. SCE's headquarters is located in Rosemead, California, and if you look on the right side, you'll see a map of Edison's service territory, which spreads over 50,000 square miles across central, coastal, and Southern California. Next slide, please. How we serve. Our goal at SCE is to deliver power safely, reliably, and affordably. To do this, we monitor and maintain a vast electrical system that spans over 119,000 miles of transmission and distribution lines with approximately 4,600 circuits, which serves over 15 million residents. Next slide, please. Reliability definitions and measurements. We're going to transition into what reliability means and how we measure it. Next slide, please. What is reliability? In the simplest terms, reliability is having dependable electricity when you need it. When you flip on your light switch, do your lights turn on and do they stay on? Well, what are some of the reasons why our lights may not always stay on? We have 3 outage categories. Maintenance outages or planned outages, where SCE notifies its customers via a mailer, text, or phone message prior to when the outage will occur. This is when we perform preventive maintenance to replace or repair equipment as needed. We also have a second category called repair outages or unplanned outages, where a customer may experience an unexpected interruption in power. And there are 2 types of repair outages. One is sustained outages, which is where outages are greater than 5 minutes. And then we have momentary outages, which are less than 5 minutes. An example of a momentary interruption would be where wind causes a branch to hit a power line, causing a circuit to be interrupted momentarily. But then it reconnects and then power flow is restored within 5 minutes or less. The opposite is true of sustained outages. On a windy day, a branch falls on a line and a crew is called out to remove the branch, and restoring power would take greater than 5 minutes. Another outage category that we have is called Public Safety Power Shutoff, or PSPS. And this happens when SCE proactively shuts down circuits to minimize the threat of wildfires with a focus on public safety. Major event days, or MEDs, are not included in our measurement of reliability. An MED occurs when we are experiencing stresses to our system beyond what is normally expected, like in the cases of severe weather. PSPS falls into a similar category and is not included in reliability measurements as well. Next slide, please. How do we measure reliability? As your electric utility, we want you to have power when you need it. To get there, we constantly track and monitor electric outages across our service territory. and we measure our system reliability from this data. So SCE uses 4 metrics that are commonly used in the electric utility industry to measure reliability. The reliability metrics that we track are SAIDI, or System Average Interruption Duration Index, which measures the amount of time the average SCE customer experiences a power outage or interruption for more than 5 minutes in a given year. SAIDI focuses on duration, and it answers the question, what's the total time my power service will be unexpectedly interrupted this year? Our second metric that we use is SAIFI, or System Average Frequency Duration Index, which is the number of times the average SCE customer experiences a sustained outage in a given year. Or how many times will my power service be unexpectedly interrupted this year? Moving on, we also have CAIDI, which is Customer Average Interruption Duration Index, or the ratio of SAIDI duration and SAIFI frequency, which gives you the amount of time it takes to restore power after an unexpected interruption. Our last one is MAFI, or Momentary Average Interruption Frequency Index, which tells us the number of times an average customer was without power in a year due to service interruption lasting 5 minutes or less. Next slide, please. Now we'll discuss SCE's 2020 reliability performance. Next slide, please. These graphs gives us a historical look at our SCE system reliability. The graph represents data from 2011 to 2020 for SAIDI, SAIFI, MAFI, and CAIDI with MEDs excluded. SAIDI, or duration, if you look at the graph, excluding the outlier year of 2018, SAIDI duration has generally looks like it has a downward trend, and then it begins to level out. So if we look at duration over the last 9 or 10 years, duration has generally decreased. SAIFI and MAFI are our frequency metrics, shows the trend is mostly flat. So the frequency has remained flat, or the number of outages that a customer has experienced on average has remained steady. And then CAIDI has a slightly downward trend, which means the frequency has remained the same. However, the duration is shrinking or incrementally decreasing. Next slide, please. 2020 outage categories. We look at drivers behind our outages. This pie chart shows the causes behind outages that we're experiencing. For 2020, the major outage cause categories were underground and overhead equipment, operations, which is where SCE is working to avoid an overload or crews are out testing and troubleshooting issues. And then the third one, major category, is third party, which consists of car hit pole incidents or mylar balloon incidences. So these drivers give us information on opportunities for us to make improvements. Next slide, please. Worst performing circuits. SCE takes part of SCE's worst performing circuits activity is a part of worst circuit habilitation program that we have called WCR, and it targets the top 1% of worst performing circuits measured using SAIDI and SAIFI. So SCE's worst performing circuits are identified by using 3 years of system outage history, which exclude major event days. So a weighted factor is applied to the system outage data, and then the weighted results are summed per circuit and then ranked. So SCE reports the top 46 worst performing circuits between SAIDI and SAIFI, and when it occurs where the circuit happens to be on the list a previous year, you'll see an asterisk. Next slide, please. Similar to the last slide, this slide is worst performing circuits by SCE. I'm sorry, similar to the last slide, which was worst performing circuits by SCE, this slide has the worst performing circuits by SAFE or frequency. So again, the same concept applies with weighting, and the only difference is the last slide was SAFE and this slide was SAFE frequency. Next slide, please. How to obtain local reliability reports. We're going to move into how you can access your own local reliability reports for your city. Next slide, please. To gain access to your reliability information, if you go to SCE.com, there's a menu on the left-hand side where you could click on Outage Center, Reliability Reports, and then go into your county and then go into your city. We produce over 240 city reliability presentations, and they are updated annually. And the reports include much of the same information that we went through with the 2020 reliability performance. It covers circuits that are served in the city, circuit performance, outage causes, and capital improvement plans. Next slide, please. We see that, as stated in the previous slide, each report contains a list of circuits for each city or jurisdiction, along with the number of customers per circuit. The metrics we use to gauge reliability performance are also in the report. So we provide the current year along with the prior 3 years data for SCE, SAFE, and MAFE. Next slide, please. Similar to the system-wide report, we also provide outage causes per city. This allows you to see the contributing factors to your SCE and SAFE for your particular area. And again, you'll see the breakdown of cause categories along with the pie chart that breaks out what those top causes are per your city. Next slide, please. The report also provides a map of all circuits in your city along with PSPS circuits. Next slide, please. The report again provides additional maps about showing you capital improvement work. So it shows you the work that's happening in your area. So capital improvement work includes such things as pole replacements, circuit rebuilds, and electrical equipment replacement. These improvements help to increase the reliability in each city. Next slide, please. Now we'll transition into 2020 reliability improvements. Next slide, please. Oh, thank you. So each year, Southern California Edison plans to spend more than $5 billion to maintain and improve and harden our infrastructure. One of the focus areas is infrastructure reliability, which includes replacing or updating underground cables, poles, switches, and transformers, which allows us to consistently provide safe, reliable, and sustainable power. Another important focus area is wildfire mitigation. From upgrading our equipment to investing in advanced technologies, Southern California Edison is taking the necessary steps to protect the safety of our customers and communities. Wildfire mitigation can help us as far as hardening our infrastructure, improving situational awareness capabilities, and enhancing our operational practices, which can help us prevent wildfires before they happen and better predict when they may occur and help us to respond quickly if one starts. A few other focus areas are transmission, where we're installing new substations and upgrading lines, grid readiness, where we're updating our grid with new technologies, and long-term energy policy, where we're supporting energy storage and electrical vehicles. Next slide, please. In 2020, SCE's capital investment translates into 235 miles of underground cable replaced, 97 miles of overhead conductor replaced, which is our grid hardening efforts. And we've also completed 11,000 distribution pole replacement and about 3.5 thousand transmission pole replacements. Next slide, please. Addressing wildfire risks. Southern California Edison continues to strengthen our system and provide customer assistance and resources to make our community safer. We annually inspect the highest risk structures identified by our advanced risk models, and we're installing new and improved devices and technologies to reduce the likelihood that our system will be the source of ignition, which include replacing bare wire with insulated wire, also known as covered conductor, as well as installing fast-acting fuses that interrupt current more quickly and reduces the risk of ignitions when there's an electrical fault. We have installed over 1,000 weather stations and over 160 cameras to help us to further refine our weather forecasting and modeling capabilities, along with allowing us to follow real-time weather conditions. We continue our effort to inspect, trim, and remove trees to prevent vegetation from coming in contact with electrical equipment. And we're also have backup power projects where we provide backup generation and power solutions to prepare customers and communities for potential emergencies and outages. These programs and services help minimize the impact of public safety power shutoffs. Next slide, please. Here's a snapshot of our wildfire mitigation activities in 2020. We've completed 199,000 distribution inspections, 35,000 transmission inspections. We've installed 970 circuit miles of covered conductor and installed over 600 fire-resistant poles. And I've mentioned some of the other activities that are on the chart throughout the presentation. Southern California Edison continues to build on the progress that we've made in 2020, and we continue to work towards installing high-tech wildfire mitigation tools and technologies to make communities safer and more resilient. Thank you for joining our presentation today, and now we will have time to take some questions. It looks like we don't have any questions. I'll give another 30 seconds before we close out this meeting. If you do have further questions, you can send them to our inbox at circuitreliability@sce.com. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.